Hello everyone, David here, known as David H Medium. Thank you so much for checking out my very first podcast. Yes, I have to be honest and say that although I listen to the odd podcast, I never thought in a million years I would have my own. But as always, I pay attention to those spiritual prods and nudges, and Spirit were nudging me in the way of the podcast, so here I am with my own. So I appreciate that not everyone listening to this will know who I am or have ever even heard of me. So I thought this very first podcast would be a good opportunity to introduce myself. So obviously my name is David and I'm a working medium, healer and author based in the UK. So yes, I did release my first book in 2021 and it's also called Coming Down to Earth, and that's still available to purchase on all Amazon platforms. I do have a small following on my Facebook page and Instagram pages, and I have a feeling that some of my loyal followers there will be listening to this podcast now. So give you guys a shout out. Thank you very much for listening. And thank you to those of you that have never heard of me before, but you're here listening to this as well. So anyone that's had a reading from me or seen me work on Facebook or on a Zoom session, or have just been a student in one of my classes, you'll know that I work in a very down-to-earth and honest kind of way. For me, it's not all about rainbows and unicorns, and I don't have robins and butterflies permanently flying around my head. I like to keep it real and honest, and just talk about this topic of mediumship and spirituality in an honest and, again, down-to-earth kind of way. But just to be clear, though, I'm not part of the whole I'm just honest, I'll just say it how it is crew, because there's a difference between that and being an arsehole. And you can still talk about these things in a real and honest way without being that way, if that makes sense. But for me, being a medium is not just about readings, it's about more than that. So I enjoy talking about the topic, not to preach to anybody, because spirituality itself is not about preaching to people. It's just about teaching people and giving people knowledge to help them on their own journeys, whether it be their own personal journeys or whether it be people who are indeed finding their spirituality, or they are training mediums, or they are people that are wanting to step into the world of mediumship, which is what I wrote my debut book about, again called Coming Down to Earth, because I wanted to write a book which is not an autobiography, but it talks about my journey into mediumship, what the development looked like, the hurdles that came with it, as well as talking about my views and opinions on certain spiritual topics, my views and opinions on mediumship, what good mediumship is. And people have called it more of a reference book because you can pick it up at any point and the book still makes sense, because it's not like it's a continuous story. The book is divided up into different topics which you can read about. And again, it gives you something to think about, and so you also know that you're not on your own, because this whole world of mediumship and spiritualism, it can be quite strange, because you don't always know how it works, what you're doing. Is this thing real? Is that real? Is it my imagination? So I guess this podcast is an extension of the book. I'm here not to preach, not to tell people what to believe, but just to talk about mediumship, so you can learn something from it. And again, if you are on your own mediumship journey, I hope that what I'm able to express or talk about helps you on your own journeys as well. Now, I always say, and I mentioned this in the book as well, is that I only talk from my own personal perspective and experience, because I know it's real, because I have experienced it. And of course, I'm going to give my own views and opinions on mediumship and what I feel about it, and what ideally, if you are an authentic and honest medium, what mediumship should look like. And look, I'm sure there are lots of other spiritual podcasts out there similar to mine, and I do listen to those as well. There's a particular medium who also does a similar thing, who does talk in a down-to-earth kind of way, and I listen to her podcast as well. But look, we all have different views and opinions, so hopefully you can learn from all of us and take the bits with what you resonate with the most. And I always say, and I said this in my book as well, is that I'm not here to convince or convert anyone, because that's not my job. I simply give you what I know, and again, hopefully you can take something from it. But I've listened to a lot of podcasts, I've watched a lot of mediums work, I've read a lot of books or spiritual books, and sometimes you do question, what do I believe? Who do I believe? Do I believe that person who's been working for 25 years? Do I believe in that person who's famous and on the TV? Do I believe that person who's relatively new to the scene and so therefore they have some new fresh ideas? And I did struggle with that for a little while. And I remember sitting in meditation one day and I asked my guide, one of my guides called Dolly, I said, Dolly, what do I believe in? Who do I believe? And her answer came back very clearly and she said, David, you have to come to your own conclusions. And that's what I'll say to you. You just have to go with what you resonate with the most. If there's a topic I talk about which you don't believe in or you don't believe in my viewpoint on it, that's absolutely fine. Again, I'm not going to tell people what to believe. It's just my viewpoint based on what I have experienced. But again, whoever you listen to or how many other mediums you listen to, again, I go with the advice that my guide gave to me. You just need to come to your own conclusions. And that's it. I think that's it for the introduction into the podcast. And before I let you go, it's just to give you some information about the kind of things that are coming up in the podcast. So there will be myself talking about the spiritual world and mediumship. There will be some meditations which I'll upload as well. And eventually there will be some interviews which I aim to do with some medium friends of mine as well. And as a quick plug here, I am also offering private readings as well, which you can find via my online booking site, which is https://david.square.site, SITE. But that's it. I'm going to now let you delve into the episodes or the ones that are available for the moment, and I will upload as many and I'll do as many as I can, as quick as I can. But I hope you enjoy it and I hope to interact with you all very, very shortly. Take care of yourselves and I'll see you all very soon.